All right, it's time to get to work. So I promised that I would try to make up for any offenses that I committed, even speaking negatively about the Church of Scientology. You're considered suppressive. I'm not sure if this makes up for any suppressive words I've used, but I have decided to take all of these internet news magazine sites, and what I want to do is post the links. I want to post the links to a Word document and then get them to the right person, because this is images stolen for negative Scientology press, negative press about the Church of Scientology, I should say. Your cameras are always on, so if you want a little bit more privacy, I put a post-it note over it. All right, so that's a little... Look at all these hundreds and hundreds of websites that are out there that are like just stealing images, and they have the audacity to post what's required in order to steal an image, which is to say something about internet privacy and copyright infringement. I don't know if this, for example, if this Getty Images is a legit Scientology approved website, but they often put their watermark on some of these, and other ones are these photos with the watermark removed, and they're added to all kinds of mostly negative or gossip. And on top of that, sometimes some of these are photoshopped to be offensive. So I said, this is something that is within my scope of education and experience to do, which is to just put something together that is worthwhile, because I really don't have the ability to write a story or to appeal to anybody locally. But I have to say that this is something that's obvious, and maybe the Church of Scientology can research where are these all stemming from. I mean, it's anybody and everybody, or if the saying goes oppositely. And even TampaBay.com. But you understand, it doesn't say Tampa Bay Times, so it's all these, like, they're stealing the Tampa Bay Times name in a way. And so that's a if the Tampa Bay Times wouldn't be approving of this, then it's doubly this person that's putting this out there is doubly doing this. And then I heard, look, I my mind's eyes are open, all right? And I heard Tony Ortega, or somebody with Tony Ortega, say fair game, that they're using the fair game policy. Tony Ortega doesn't profess to be a Scientologist from what my research is. So who are they to use Scientology church doctrine and say fair game, or to be suppressive in the eyes of the church and push this fair game doctrine, if it's even legitimately doctrine today, to be outside the church saying fair game? So we'll see how they hold up in court, and I will be willing to testify that OT level 8 is great, has tiger references, and if I'm not mistaken, so does the U.S. Navy. And so if Tony Ortega was somehow involved in gaining access to the Church of Scientology and used U.S. Navy status, then there is a separation of church and state. So you see, it's getting to be complicated higher levels of a religion that has never been able to be free, and we as Christians throw it away, and we don't value it. So, in the very least, I can do this much, because I've been put outside, and I've sent some weird emails, and that's all it takes to be on their list of So I'm sorry. I was living in the woods, and had some issues there with coming up against governmental powers at the time too. And so if a church of Scientology was considering, hey, let's see what we can do to help this person, and then this person in government was like, oh no, I'm going to see to it that I'm going to block this woman from getting help, because I grew up in the woods area. You can't survive in the woods without money, a vehicle, four walls, and a roof. And until then, I'm stuck in between two cities and their bowels and all that is rotten within them. So I'm going to make my change in every which way that I can. And it gets ugly and I get noisy and loud, but in the very least, it's sort of like I'll handle all of it to the best of my ability, and then hopefully somebody will pick it up from there and say, hey, I actually know some people. So we'll get this out. In the very least, it's to shake people up, like hundreds and hundreds of photographs that I don't think even David's family would approve of, and some of them very threatening, like the Medals of Misery website, and that one's going to receive more pertinent attention, because they are photoshopping things, and it's disturbing to look at. And so is some of what Mark Headley has posted too. And I see lookalikes around here, but are they them? But they have had plastic surgery to look slightly different, so they can wander around and still get away with, I don't know what. They are having fun. Even if they look dirty and disheveled, they must not want to be like soldiers anymore. And I really believe they think they're going to get back to some sort of order and goodness, like they deserve it. And when you say something like what Mark Headley, I don't know, I know Headly, has said in one of these internet posts, I've had approximately 3 years to study what I can on the run, between one homeless shelter to the next. So if I was counted as suppressive and worth keeping an eye on, don't get in the way of it, because I'm someone that can accept discipline and change. Whereas some of these people, who's frightening, David or these people that are not one bit afraid of what they're doing? They're not one bit afraid. They're not afraid of his disapproval. They're not afraid to cross the line, and they're not afraid to poison people and physically poison people till they're near death in order to threaten him and the Church of Scientology. So at this point, they're dirtier than the accusations they're making. And so one way to start to topple their little fort, their little tree fort that they've built around here, is to start getting them at things like stealing photographs, copyright infringement, false accusations in their advertising, and so on and so forth. It does come from the top down. We're talking the U.S. government. So the reason why I have come across with a newfound peace is because I have been piecing puzzles together for years, and I could sit there and say this or say that, but people hear me. They hear me when I think. My teeth will be clenched, and they hear me when I think. It's because I was wired. And I did hear those words, we've been wired. And maybe a year later, I don't know which words I heard first, we've been deep throated. And I knew they were talking about some kind of a nanotechnology device placed in the throat. And me having had total thyroidectomy and a scar on my throat is, and constantly needing to see an endocrinologist, and I do need to see an endocrinologist, I do, but I've had enough with this. And are you taking your medicine? It's like, you guys are gonna have to swallow a lot of jagged little pills to realize that when somebody you're vilifying is starting to look more radiant than the sun, then you guys have crossed the line in your investigations to the point where you have committed crimes against humanity. And from what I'm hearing, also through my mind's eyes, I think I have an eye here, like the largest, because of a leak in CIF fluid or CSF fluid, caused this, whether spiritual or not, a mind's eye to be enlarged. So I might hear differently and I might see differently. And that's why a lot of people, either innocently or otherwise, decided to treat it as paranoid schizophrenia. But until I have my day in court, in actual court, then it goes as ever the government wants to play it out. But they're not any longer going to say, I need lithium, and proceed to do this with whole families going, lithium, lithium, or 2 for flinching. It's like, it's becoming reckless. So I'm going to start to topple these a-holes tree fort, and I'm sure they splice the wires on somebody's satellite so that they can have free internet, or an internet that they can control, so that in an instant they can stop you from being able to see something you shouldn't. It's all mirroring the life that people chose when they chose to become Scientologists. And that is whatever they chose to accept. But if a child of who had parents or people in charge of them join the church, prove that you're angry about your upbringing by suing your parents first. Don't sit right next to them and be like, yeah, because you're doing this for money. So what I'm doing is I'm suing the federal government to win. And I'm not sure what to do, or I obviously need some kind of advice on that, some kind of legal advice. But don't follow me around thinking if I offend against this girl, she's gonna sue this business or sue that business, and we'll get some kind of a cut out of it. Because you're not getting any money, you're not getting any Bitcoin, you're not getting any bot, you're not getting any property either. So when you force somebody to believe that it's a church or that it is the government, which it is, but there's a whole lot of opportunistic people that want more out of it. And the people that are disabled, the people that are truly disabled, don't want to be. And we're being followed around because we get a regular check. And a lot of other people just feel like, well, you're entitled, but they're lying because they feel entitled. So I know I sound angry, but do you understand? I got nobody to talk to. I have nobody to talk to. And when somebody, for all I know, they stuck a gun in the guy's face who sold me these phones and say, or I'm with the government. I really don't know. I just know that I've got search requests in my search history that are for children, and I don't have custody of any children. Every time I go to load up my YouTube clips, which are dumb, it's just pastimes. Yes, say yes, it's for kids. Put TTY. I'm like, what is this? If you're withholding my deaf son, which you claim I've had a deaf son for years, then produce him so I can see it, because that's another scam you're trying to run. So unfortunately, I've had to handle everything myself, but that means I'm going to earn everything. because I've already been successful at 99% of it. So I'm going to earn everything. And then I'm going to give it back to the rightful people. Because what business do I have assuming any position at the Church of Scientology but just forgiven for anything I might have said, done, or not said or done when I should have said or done something? So everybody needs to stay home and not placate, because none of you is entitled to anything when Jesus is Lord. All right, so we're just here temporarily. So let's not be so presumptuous. And I'm doing something little to chop away at what has become the biggest lie and the biggest hoax in history. And a lot of this is hoaxes and lies. But if this was ever a place for those kinds of simulations to play out so that you could be anticipatory, if that's even a word, anticipate what's going to happen and then keep it from happening, it stopped a long time ago when regular citizens were brought up here and they abandoned their post and hid underground and in the mountains and stuff. You're not going to look away while a bunch of witnesses are being killed and profess to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. And you're also, I'm sorry that the most Jesus-like people were like me, white as chalk with big light eyes, and this isn't my naturally light hair, but some people are pissed that Jesus isn't African American, and it's like, let's just be happy that Jesus is loving and benevolent, and that he hasn't squashed us like bugs. I was able to upload an 18-minute video, so I'm going to send this up. And I'm just saying, well, do your part, do your investigation. It's not always through somebody who gossips that has the actual proper information. And I wouldn't profess to believe for 1 second that Tony Ortega is freedom of the press means he can walk all over everybody in here. And when people are so hooked on drugs, they'll sell out their own grandma. You could see how it's sort of like, well, I've got to do this on my own because everybody here is a little bit crazy right now. And they want to profess that I need to be medicated. Why? I'm making too much sense.